If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And please join me on my website at nanice.com. Thank you.
It's your time for Chai with Nanice. Get ready for substance, clarity, change, and especially empowerment. Get ready to turn over stones, uncover stories, and get to the heart of the matter in every area of your life. Any mood runs, any emotion flies, and your dreams are within your grasp. There are no limits or boundaries, and your comfort zone is out of reach, yet it's the safest place you will ever be. Come in, sit down, and have some chai with Nanice.
Welcome to Chai with Nanice. I'm Nanice. Back from Burning Man. It's been quite an adventure. For those of you who listen every week, you've probably noticed that last week was not a live show, and that's because I was out in the desert in the Black Rock in Nevada. And I have to tell you, it was an amazing and extraordinary adventure of a lifetime. It's interesting because I have many friends who go to Burning Man every single year. And for those of you who don't know what Burning Man is, definitely look it up online because it will change your life. So finally, after years and years and years of friends, persuading me, harassing me, telling me that I absolutely had to go, I went. But only because a very dear friend manipulated me into going. And the way in which that dear friend did that was she invited me to teach classes at her amazing theme park. And that's what I did. I went to Burning Man and I taught 10 classes. And I'll be honest with you, but only you, so don't tell anybody. If I had not committed to teaching these classes at the last minute, I definitely would not have gone. You see, just before I was about to go, about 4 days in that preparation stage, and they do tell you that it takes about a week or two to get ready for Burning Man, and, well, whoever they are not kidding. I got deathly ill, and I was literally in bed for 4 days. And so all the big plans that I had made about what I was going to take and what I was going to wear, because you dress up at Burning Man, and all the necessary things that I needed to survive the hot desert in the day and the cold desert at night, well, that list went out the window. And by the time I was well enough to get out of bed, the only thing that I could do was just throw some things in a bag and hope that somebody picked me up in the morning to go. And that's exactly what happened. And it was an interesting adventure because whatever I needed that I forgot somehow was provided for me. So as I stayed out in the desert for 8, 9 days, I'm not even sure at this point, I lost track of counting after the first one or two, I had an amazing realization, and that realization was that the universe really did provide for me. I've always believed it. I've seen it in my life, but there's something about being out in the desert and, not bringing food or enough water or, maybe the right clothes or who knows what, and having that provided for you exactly when you need it. And in fact, on the way to the desert, my dear friend Ellis, who was driving there, his car broke down. And we ended up in Wendover. Wendover is this very, very small town in the middle of nowhere. 9 in the morning, we're trying to find a station to repair his car. Well, it just happened to be next to one of these dollar stores. I had nothing better to do, so I went in there. And suddenly I remembered all the things that I had forgotten to pack, like sunglasses and sandals and a whole bunch of other things. And as I was filling my pushcart with all these necessary items, it occurred to me, could it be that the universe created this situation so that I would be able to get everything that I needed? I believe that it did. And anything that the dollar store didn't provide, well, the people at Burning Man sure did. Which brings us to today's show. Today's show is about, going out of your comfort zone. Today's show is about entering the void, either willingly or unwillingly. I don't know if one's worse than the other, to tell you the truth. And really finding yourself and finding a higher power and finding that everything you need really is there for you when you let go enough and have enough space to allow it to come. And so without further ado, I'd love to introduce the beautiful Pamela Leigh Richards. She's an amazing woman. You're going to love her voice. I could listen to her forever. Pamela is a filmmaker. There, she's giggling already. An artist, a writer, an editor, a director, producer. She's also a creative consultant, and her intention for this world is peace. She says that we live in a world that deserves to have peace and to end all wars and to respect all of life. I paraphrase that a little, Pamela, but I think I got the gist. And I invite you today to follow her on her unique journey. And she's reached the highest peaks around the world, and she has sunk to the lowest despair, and she has gone through the darkest hours of self-destruction, and finally to rebirth, emerging from the quiet inner depths of self-realization. So without further ado, Pamela, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here today.
That was beautiful. I could listen to you for the whole hour.
Well, I can listen to you too, so that's awesome.
That was great.
Well,
thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. And as you know, Chai with Nanice is structured in such a way that we just talk, and our wonderful listeners just get to eavesdrop and have a good time doing that and walk away with their own realizations through maybe listening to our insights and our epiphanies. So
absolutely.
You've gone through many dark tunnels in your life, haven't you, my friend?
Yes, I have, and it's there's a great quote that says, Nanice, that if you do not tell your story, you are doing humanity a disservice. I really believe that. I learned along the way in my life that this system has programmed us as human beings to not come out and speak. Because if you come out and speak about anything, for the most part, you're either deemed, get over it, or, ego. It's all about ego. And I'm saying, I've gotten to the conclusion. Well, I never get to a conclusion, actually. I've gotten to a point. Yes, I've gotten to a point where I just, I through my own experiences, just as you said earlier about you've known about things, as I have, I've read about things, and I've comprehended things. I knew things deep within my being. Energy field that goes way out there, and I to bring that understanding down into this dense world has been very, very difficult. And as time went on, there's a time for everything under the sun, so they say. Yes. There is no time. And I get so befuddled with my mind. I go, well, excuse me, if there's no time and there's no, so I just go, the only thing that matters is right here and right now. Yes. So, yes, I have gone through a lot of things, but so has everyone else. And I want to I would like to share with people, to let them know how important they are, how valuable and precious their minds are. Yes. And how their experiences, it's important for all of us to come out of the closet. Take those. I think the world should become transparent. Just my view, and everyone's at a different point on the path, and that's okay. But I would suggest, please come out, be transparent, because there's nothing, at least for me, there's nothing. I will say this, full stop. Nothing that anyone can say that will shock me, or that I could not understand.
I love the concept of, I love this concept of transparency. For years, what you probably don't know about me, and a lot of people don't know about me, is that for most of my life, I was very, very good at hiding. And people didn't know it because I have all this acting experience, but I was really, really good at hiding, and seemed to be outgoing. And I was outgoing, except the outgoingness was really protecting what was inside. And I was afraid to let people in. I was afraid to really be myself. I was afraid to let my guards down. And there came a point in my path where I began to realize that the only way to get to the next step, the next level, whatever that meant, because at that time I really didn't even understand what that meant. I just knew that there was something more, because there's always something more. I realized that the only way to do that was to drop the guard, was to stop pretending to be, so strong and independent and indestructible, and to allow myself to be, well, as you put, transparent and vulnerable and soft. And I'll tell you, Pamela, it wasn't always easy. It was really challenging. Because there's nowhere to go. There's no safe place when you do that.
I know, and that comes down to the responsibility of the people. People, I feel at this moment in time, I think they're opening up more and more, and it takes one person to step out of line.
Yes.
That in order for the others to go,
right.
Now they've got a platform. They have.
Right.
They can. It help. People are afraid. We must remove fear.
Yes.
And I mean, can you imagine walking into the supermarket and everyone now? I mean, we must break that pattern. Break through rip the cords that bind, that keep us in a robotic state of mind.
Right.
Hear that rhyme?
And that's exactly what we're doing. We are breaking those paradigms. We are breaking those prison bars. That's what we're doing now. And it's an amazing process. But you're so right. Most people are still imprisoned. And what you don't realize is that when you're in prison, you think that other people are doing it to you. You think society or religion or, whatever paradigm you happen to live in, wherever you might live in the world. And a lot of our listeners are from, all around the world. So those prison bars are different for everybody. But the interesting thing is that whenever you find your way out, no matter where you are, who you live, once you're out and you look back, you realize that you were the only one who was imprisoning you, that no one else was doing it to you. And I think that comes as a huge shock to most people.
Yes. It's sympathetic resonance. I feel it's the collective, it's the programming. We were born into a world between, at least for me, as an example, I was born in 1960. It's now 2009. My world, my memory, only from experience is between 1960 and 2009. Everything else is told to me. I don't believe anything that, the word story actually means lie. So
I didn't know that.
Etymological, from etymology, etymological background, the word story actually means lie. So his story, his lie. So my view is everything that has been taught to me. I mean, look, if people just step back, I call it my observation deck that I go to, and I observe everything, and I go, there's 6.5 billion people on this planet.
Yes.
And there's something going on. I don't have a television. I don't watch TV. And I went within, Nanice. I went within because I said, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this shite. There's, pardon my language, but call a spade. And the history, science, all of it, people are following the Pied Piper. They're following someone else's dream. They're following someone else's story.
Yes.
And as an example, I'm very visual. So I imagine two women standing next to each other, and one of them is going, "Oh my God, did you know? I heard they're going to mandatorily vaccinate everyone." I know that on page 22. And the other one goes, "Well, what are they going to do next?" And she goes, "I don't know. Let me turn the page." Well, change direction, people.
Right.
Where attention goes, energy flows.
Exactly.
And I mean, there's my mind is starting to go into many different levels here. Let's take the vaccination thing that's going on at the moment. And what I would suggest for people is I feel that I glance over some of the news occasionally, and I will see things on the internet, and I shut it down. I say, no. Every neighborhood, people must take responsibility for what the world is right now. So I say, start in your own neighborhoods, commune, get to know your neighbor, get together. Start. It's like kind of like in the in the Western days. If in fact, which it seems it's happening, where they're actually going out and doing they're doing shutdowns or lockdowns in schools, as in they're performing their what do they call that? It's a test. It's
in
not
schools?
real. It's not real.
So they're locking down public schools and performing a test.
Yeah, it's called a lockdown. Yeah.
Really?
And so,
wow.
and all that's doing, it's furthering.
Yes.
The children are coming home, and it's furthering the fear. It's furthering fear. People, every community. I would suggest corral, like in the Western days.
Yes.
Put your corral around and be informed. Get informed. And then know your power.
Yeah.
Remove fear. And if anything ever comes into your neighborhood, that's your family. If Mr. Muck, but I call Mr. Muck, and I don't, it's a gentle euphemism for something that's very evil.
Right.
But I'm not against it. But it's obviously there. If it comes into your neighborhoods and your cities, because that's where people live, I feel that it's very important for people to gather like this, get to know your neighbors, get informed, and if anything ever comes down, you guys stand up like V for Vendetta.
Right. So what I'm hearing you say, Pamela, is that we need to take responsibility for what's going on in the world. And obviously, the world's a very large place. And so when we look at taking responsibility for what's going on in the world, we need to look at our world. And our world is our family, our neighborhood, our community. And what I'm also hearing you say is to not live in fear and to go out and to take a stand and to find out the truth about things and not just believe stories, which we now know means lies, that are passed down through newspapers or person to person or TV or the media or internet or what you may have, and to find out the truth for oneself. And you said something in there, and it was very covert, but it was almost like I heard you say that don't just rely on information from outside sources. Go inside of yourself and find out the information for yourself. And this, I believe, is just a huge piece of what I call waking up. So instead of listening to what's going on in the world, and instead of listening to what we're being fed by media and all these different sources, that we go and we quietly silence our minds. And we look in and we say, what's the truth about this? What do I need to know about this? And we just listen long enough until the answers start emerging. And it's a fascinating thing because, I'm sure you know, when those answers do start emerging within us, we know when they're true. There's no doubt. When truth emerges from inside of us, there is no doubt. 50 people can stand in front of us and say that's not true. But once we get in touch with a real truth, no one can tell us any different. And so all of this, if I were to summarize what you're saying, is, people, we need to take our power back. It's time. We've given our power away for long enough, and it's time to take it back. And you had mentioned something about the vaccinations, which I'd love for you to complete that thought, because that's a whole wealth of knowledge right there that most people are not aware of.
Yes, well, again, for me, I've gotten to a point where I look around me, and I want peace. That's it. So I don't want war. I cannot stand that. So people in uniforms take them off. We have no enemies.
Right.
They are created. We do not need uniforms in a world of peace. We do not need uniforms of any kind. So please take the uniforms off and make a stand and come home. We must do the different. We must turn ourselves inside out in order to make the transition, and that is a hurdle. For me, that's the quantum leap. That is doing things different. We're going to have to do, people, I know they have jobs and whatever, but the job with a corporation or whatever they're working in within a city, life was not meant 9 to 5.
Right.
That is not the way we were meant to live. That is not living. that is surviving for someone else.
That's part of the prison that we talk about. That's part of the trap. It's not supposed to be that way. Life was never supposed to be there. That's the result of all the programs that have been instilled upon us for generations. And now it's time we get to wake up and we get to do something different. And so, when we talk about, today, we decided that we were going to talk about the void and moving out of our comfort zone and going into the unknown. And really, that's exactly what we're talking about. But it's not just an individual thing. We're talking about this on a global basis, that we all need to do this in order to create a new world and bring a new world of peace and harmony and oneness into being. It's not in our comfort zone. Yes, it's about taking off the uniforms both literally and metaphorically, and it's about changing our education system so that it's not one that just programs kids, it's one that enlightens kids. And we're talking about creating a whole new judicial system that is not a judicial system, but a system that empowers people to be the best they can be. And we're talking about, breaking down the bonds of religion and finding one great truth that we can all exist within harmoniously. We're talking about creating a whole new life individually and collectively as a whole, as a planet. And this is the time that we're here for. This is what we're here to do.
Yes. This is, when I hear names, language divides, and when I hear words given to something, it always, it does something to my energy field, and I go, I have no name for anything. All of life, all of existence, and the experiences that I've had recently have validated, I guess, were my intent and my heart. Because when you put intent out, if you put an intention out and you really mean it, because I do feel that the eyes of truth, whatever that is, call it God, oneness, source, life, I call it life, the eyes of truth are watching us. I can feel that. And because from my own experiences, and I'm very grateful for everything that I've experienced so far. But when the heart and the intent, the mind, when you put out the intent and it comes from within your heart and you mean it, when those two collide, when they come together, that for me is the third force. Boom. You've got manifestation. So that I have felt happening. And when we go back to the vaccination thing, say people, I hear people constantly going, well, what is vaccination? Where does it come from? All of the detail, the devil's in the detail, in my view. The devil's in the detail. So I say cut right through the crap. Let's go to the nucleus of it, people. Come to your heart and just go, I don't need to know all of it. I mean, how many books can I read? How many seminars can I go to?
There's a lot of people that are listening to us now that they're going, what's up with the vaccine? What do you mean, vaccination? Would you fill our listeners in on what you're talking about regarding vaccinations? They want to mandatorily vaccinate everyone, the children. They're trying to get the children. The vaccinations have, again, the detail, just crap in it. It's there to completely destroy the human being, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, with the mind and everything. It's created. If you take these shots, it's been shown, documented that people who have had them have like the swine flu and other vaccinations.
The swine flu, and babies, and do not give your babies vaccinations, please. Now, and my point here is this: when I say this, do not give a shot from the system to any baby. Or anyone. Please, I'm suggesting this. It's up to the individual. They must make their own choices. But I would suggest, please do not do this. And I'll give an analogy as to why. And if they ask why, the information's out there. I would say go to David's. He's got a wonderful newsletter that completely
Maybe you can talk, for those of you who don't know, Pamela is the former wife of David Icke, and 2 weeks from today we will be doing a show with David Icke. We actually recorded it previously, and it's going to be an amazing show. And David Icke is really on the forefront of exposing the truth about what's really going on in this world and on this planet, and how we can take our power back as a civilization and as a global community. And so on David's site, if you go there, is it davidicke.com? Is that right, Pamela?
Yes.
Yeah. So davidicke.com, and David, D-A-V-I-D, Icke is ICKE.com. And I believe somewhere on that first homepage there's information about vaccinations. Is that correct? Or
Yes, because I feel that's a catalyst for all of humanity at the moment. The vaccination program that's being pushed onto the people of the here is a wonderful. It seems very dark, and it seems, in my view, what it's doing is it's actually. You can look at it from different perspectives. It's actually waking people up. It's pushing people to the limit. Some people do not. Humanity, for some reason, I don't know. We've had to go to this point before we actually see it. Right? And David has talked about this before, and now it's in our face. Okay, now we must deal with it. And there are many ways of dealing with it, I suppose.
Sure.
But what I would say to people, if there was someone standing next to me and they said, well, I heard they're talking about, should I take the vaccine, the jab? And I'm going, I would say no, just no. And if they say, well, why? I'll say, well, the information's over there.
Right. And there's a ton of information out there. Yes.
Yes, and my visual would be to them is this. Right now, at this time, it's about not listening to the word of what's going on, but start to follow and strengthen and trust your intuition.
Yes.
Get out of your head and feel life. Like a wild animal, it senses danger. Does it need to know the detail before it changes direction?
Mm-hmm.
No. So I would suggest to people, how much more chattering do you need to talk about this amongst yourselves? Stop. I would say shut the televisions off.
Yes.
Shut the I would say I think we should have a Burning Man of television sets. Put them in the middle of the
Oh, that's so great. I can see a theme park next year. People are already starting to build it as they hear this, and the whole theme park is just old TV sets, and the night of the burn they just take a match and they blow up all the TV sets.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think I might have to do that. Do you want to do it with me, Pamela?
I absolutely will. Absolutely. Our minds, I feel our minds are like steering wheels. This is the way I think. Our minds are like steering wheels, and so where we look, there it shall be.
That's true.
Again, that falls in line with where attention goes, energy flows.
Yes.
I love quantum physics and into that realm. But even scientists, when you go do what I call quantum leaping,
yes,
this information that's pouring into my being at the moment, at this time, that I actually have to go. I have to hold it at bay, because when I speak to people, they will think I'm absolutely mad because I'm all over the place. And I have to be I have to slow myself down so that I can express.
Catch up with yourself. You have to catch up with yourself. Right?
Exactly. So I mean, I feel we're in someone else's boat, and I think it's time for mutiny. But peaceful mutiny, peaceful mutiny. We don't need to go. getting crazy and all that stuff. But
when I spoke to David a couple of weeks ago, when we pre-recorded the show that's going to air on September 28th, he talked a lot about stuff that was going on in the world. And, it's interesting because you would assume that most people really have an idea of different things that are happening in the world as far as, even like we're talking about the swine flu vaccination. But my experience is that most people don't. Most people really don't know what's going on in the world because they're so busy watching TV or listening to radio or listening to, what Joe, their neighbor, has to say, or, listening to shows that perpetuate the same old stories that they really don't know what's going on in the world. And so when we do a show like this and we talk about or at least allude to the fact that there are hidden truths, it changes something. It opens up a door in somebody's mind, or, it's like their little DNA comes sticking their heads out the window and say, what? There's something else that we don't have all the information, and this is what makes a difference. This is, another thing that a lot of people don't know about, and I only found out about it recently, was there's a plan that we all get chipped at some time. I'm sure you've heard about that. Is that correct?
Well, I don't think about it because, I've gotten to this point in my life, and I don't think I've gotten here for nothing at this point. So, and it depends on the mind of the person and where they're going and where they're focused on. Again, 6.5 billion people.
Yes.
Everything, I feel that there is something, because I've had it around me, an energy. I've experienced it. I think you mentioned it was the one thing that slapped me up the backside of my head when I was going to die. I wanted to die, and my will said I wanted to die.
Yeah.
Yet there was something outside of myself, something external, that came in and slapped me up the backside of my head and said, so there is definitely something working with us. It knows your heart.
Yes.
It knows your intent. It will, if you have, if you choose to want to go down the satanic route and rip out hearts, then you will get what you ask for.
Yes.
You will come into contact with people who will give you that.
Yeah.
I choose to not go there. I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been down that road, and it hurts. And I don't want to go there anymore.
Sure.
I had to shake off that energy that was, you get too close to that stuff, Nanice, and it will, it can come onto you. So that is why I don't need to know anymore. I don't need to know.
So what I'm hearing you say is that it's important for people to start asking questions, and when there's something that doesn't seem right or look right, to make a stand. And in addition to that, at the same time, they need to choose their consciousness, and they need to focus on what it is that they do want. But the only way to really do that is to first have an awareness that there's a lot of untruths going on in this world, and that the only way to really find out what the truth is to seek within. And once you uncover or discover that within you, to focus more on what it is that you want, so that you can create that reality in your reality. Is that pretty much correct?
I from my own experience, when I went within, when I left England and went to Egypt, and I spent that time with swimming and filming with wild dolphins and sharks, when I refused, I wiped the slate clean, and I went within, and I looked at life, whatever that was, and I said I was tired of it in riddle. I said I want it straight, and it knew my heart. It's a long story, but when I flew over the Mediterranean, there was a voice. I call it an energy message, but it was telepathic, and it came into my mind. I remember just as I was flying right over the beautiful Egyptian desert, a very powerful place, and it said, "You have a heart to give, and you must get grounded." And I said, well, I was thinking, I'm a bad child. I'm sorry, but I don't want to get grounded.
Right.
I want to fly.
Right. Right.
I don't want to get grounded.
Right.
So I feel that the getting grounded was in my soul, because I was flying. I was so out of my body before I went to Egypt that and synchronistically enough, when I landed in Egypt, I actually booked 2 weeks and ended up staying for 5 weeks. And then when I went back to England to pack to come to America, the dolphins and the water and the dolphins were calling me back so profoundly that I dropped everything I was doing, all my boxes in the front room. I left a note, and I booked it for 4 weeks, and I ended up staying for 5 months. I was gone. I had to. I had to go, and it was very profound. And during that time there, I had 2 people, one from Denmark, one from Holland, 2 ladies who pulled me aside, one on the first time, and she said I was walking across the restaurant on the patio that sits up high on a hill, right on the water of the Red Sea. If people don't know, Egypt and the Red Sea. And she goes, Pamela, can you come here, please? And I sat down, and this is very, these are signs. If people, please keep your eyes open for the signs of life that are talking to you, because
they're all around.
Just like, yes, just like I could be I could be snorkeling in the ocean, and there could be a shark that comes right behind me, and I'm not aware of it, and it comes and goes, and I never saw it. Right. So, and I'm talking about not danger. I'm talking about a beautiful creature that I could have witnessed and experienced, which I did, and I filmed. But she goes, Pamela, you must get grounded. And I thought, if I hear this one more time, she goes, people are not ready for what you have to tell them. And then the second time, I was at the Bedouin tent, which is all sand. It's right on the edge of the sea there. It's an eco village. I was in a hut, and
there's an eco village in Egypt.
In Egypt, yes.
Wow, that's cool.
Yes, because I had to get away. I needed big sky, and I needed space. I needed to be able to breathe at that time, which is what took me away. It was like a big mother lioness picked me up by the nape of my neck, Nanice, and plopped me in Egypt. Because if I didn't go, I was going to die. I was being hit by thought forms, and it was intense. So anyway, the story is actually somewhat of it is in the book that I'm finishing up right now. These stories, the magical, beautiful telepathic communications that I had with the dolphins, and the films are coming with the dolphins and the shark. I went into hadn't had that experience with the shark as well. But the second lady said, as I was walking in the Bedouin tent, now Bedouins are nomad people. The Bedouin people, they come from the desert, but they have on this eco village, it's all made of palm leaves, and they make everything themselves. It's all handmade. It's all natural, and the sand is your floor, and it's all open, and they have the pipe things and all that. So I went in, and I was walking out towards the sea, and this lady was sitting there that I'd met briefly, and she goes, Pamela, come sit down. Again. And I sat down.
Yes.
And she looks at me and she goes, Pamela, you must get grounded. As she said it, she was stomping her feet on the sand. And I thought, okay, life is trying to tell me something. I must, I'm flying. I don't want to be grounded.
Right. Because that would mean that you might have to let go of something or not be free or be restricted in some way. At least that's what you believed. And I resonate with that, Pamela, because I believed that for many, many years too. And I'm still working on the whole grounded thing. It's so much easier for me to fly as well. But that's why we resonate. But I understand now that the real magic, like to really create and experience magic here on Earth, you need to be grounded. It's a whole different kind of magic, and it's the creation and manifestation process, really, what we're talking about.
Yeah. In order to speak with people, I'm a real quantum leaper, Nanice. When I found out that, there were shape-shifting reptilians running the world and they were in human form, I was running around, and I was saying that because that was truth for me. Mm-hmm. I could see it. And I was quantum, just the way I am. And I was planting seeds, and I would say to people, I would go, hey, did you know that there are shape-shifting reptilians running the world and they're in human form and and they're in positions of power and like our presidents and whatever? So I cannot. It's kind of like climbing a ladder. If you're climbing a ladder and you're moving so fast that I love everyone. I love. How, if we are infinite love and everything is infinite love, then why does it keep beating itself up? So I don't understand that. There are many things. So again, we come back to 6.5 billion people. I want to stop the dolphins being slaughtered in Japan. I want to stop the finning of the sharks. I want people to be free from cancer. I mean, all of this stuff within this matrix. I say, I shut the door. The world is my family, life is my partner, and peace is my focus. So keep it simple. So I look at all of the distractions, and I just go, delete, 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 delete. It does not exist if I do not look at it. And the more of us that do that, I feel when we take our power back quietly, calmly, get to know your neighbors. Go into I say take your children. I say take your children out of school. They want to vaccinate your children in school. If you're a parent and you're working, you don't know what they're doing to your children in that school. Take them out. Yes. Homeschool. Humanity has allowed the system to take care of them. Yeah. So they have to take responsibility for that.
Yeah.
I say take everything home.
I think so too. And it's going back to be responsible. And one of my children is partially homeschooled, and the other child is in a democratic school, which is a non-traditional school. So I'm with you there. But it also sounds like there's this delicate balance between an awareness of what's going on in the world and where you focus your attention. As you say, where energy, creation follows energy. And yet you need to know what's going on first so that you can make the choices. So I think this is where a lot of people get confused because they're hearing, well, should I go bury my hand in the sand and not look at all the stuff that's going on in the world? Or should I look at all the stuff that's going on in the world? And my answer to that question is, yes, we need to be aware of what's going on in the world. We need to be aware of many of the things, and we've just touched the surface here today. We need to be aware of what's going on in our schools, what our children are really learning, what they're not learning. We need to be aware of systems. We need to be aware of the vaccinations. We need to be aware of, I mentioned the chips that the government wants to eventually put in everybody. All these things and more we need to be aware of. And at the same time, it's really important that when we become aware of them, that we don't go, crazy, and focus our attention on them so we actually manifest more of that out of our fear. But instead, when we become aware of what's going on, we make choices. We make choices for our lives. We make choices for our families. We make choices for our children that support the direction that we want to go. And constantly revise those choices depending on more information and a higher level of consciousness that we are receiving. And that's a regular process that never ends, especially in a world today that is changing so quickly. My little pedestal lately that my podium that I've been up on lately has been about the education program. So I'm glad you brought it up. And when I look at the world, as you know, Pamela, I work with people all over the world, and I coach them, and I I'm a spiritual mentor and all that stuff. And it's interesting because for all the years that I've been doing this, no matter who I work with in the world, virtually everybody, and just virtually, I can't think of one person right now that not. When you get deep enough, there's worthiness issues. That there's a sense of unworthiness, and this for a long time perplexed me because, of course, I had my own worthiness issues that I healed for many years, and so when I'm looking all these people from around the world and everybody has these worthiness issues, I started to think, well, why is this? And it took me a long time to figure it out. As we know, our worthiness is intrinsic and there's nothing to prove and there's nothing to do. We are worthy, period. So where does the sense of unworthiness come from? And one of the things that I really started looking at very strongly is our education systems. And if we look at this from a impartial standpoint, this is what happens to children. You look at a child, and the child is, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, and they're free-spirited, and they're having a great time in life and all that, and then suddenly, about 5, 6 years old, in the United States and many other countries, we send them to school. What we're really doing is we're submitting them into a program, and the education program is one of good and bad, right and wrong, deserving, not deserving, failure, success, and it's under this umbrella of worthiness. So the way that our schools are structured right now, the way our education programs are structured right now, is to teach our children about worthiness. By the time a child emerges 12 years later, or even 12 days after the first day of school later, they've already been bombarded and programmed with this belief that in order to be worthy, that they have to do certain things, be a certain way, act a certain way, get certain approval, acceptance, and a whole bunch of other conditions need to be met in order for this child to feel worthy. So when you look at that same child, each of us as adults, what you really are witnessing is this worthiness program running not just an individual life, but a collective the collective lives of everybody on this planet practically, with many exceptions, I do grant you. But when you look around and you see modern society and the masses, what you're doing is seeing a program working, and that program is called unworthiness. And I must prove my worthiness in order to really survive. And I must really prove my worthiness to, have any level of what it is that I want in life. And when you have that program to affect, there has to be competition. There has to be sacrifice. There has to be all kinds of problems and frictions and wars, because a worthiness program, that means that you need to be better than someone else. So we just set ourselves up for lack of peace and lack of harmony. We set ourselves up for lives that just don't support us or anyone else. And so if I were to administer a cure, if I was to give everybody a little magic pill or wave my magic wand, the thing that I would give everybody is an intrinsic knowing of worthiness, because if you have that, if you have an intrinsic knowing of your worthiness, your life changes on a dime. And when your life changes, everyone you know is affected by that change, and their lives change. And sooner rather than later, your entire community, neighborhood, and even the world is affected by that. We talk about the 100 monkeys, and the 100 monkeys, changing the world. It's one monkey. It only takes one person. One person just has to have an awareness and an insight and to believe in that and to make that shift in themselves. And as they make that shift in themselves, it's contagious. And that moves from one being to another. And our DNA really does learn from each other. And so when we educate ourselves, when we reach a higher level of consciousness, when we awake to a higher level of awareness, not only are we doing that for ourselves, we're doing that for everybody around us. And it just keeps rippling out and rippling out and rippling out. And there's no limit. And this is how we change the world. And it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Pamela, would you, we only have a few minutes left. I know that went so fast. But would you talk a little bit about the coming events in New Mexico and Arizona with David Icke, and a little bit about that and how people can get tickets? Well, I'll tell you, you can go right on my website and get tickets just at Nanice.com, and Pamela will fill you in the details in a second. So just go to Nanice.com, Nanice.com, and on the homepage, just scroll down, right side, the lowest part of the page on the right side, you'll see David Icke and tickets for sale. Go there, and then it will be a link for either the Phoenix event or the New Mexico event. But would you share with our listeners just briefly what exactly they can expect from this event and why they should go and all that great stuff, right? And when it is.
Well, the New Mexico event is on the 11th of October, October 11th in New Mexico, and October 17th, Saturday, 1 week later, in Phoenix. And what they can expect is a big surprise. And we're going to, the Phoenix is about new beginnings and all of that, and I feel that it's very important. People can pick and choose and what they wish to do, but I must say that when you are with 1,300 people in one room, those minds will collectively, with that energy and with one focus, and that is for peace and awakening,
yes.
And people are going to walk out of there with wings.
Yes.
For sure.
Thank you so much, Pamela. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, is there a website or a phone number or some way for them to get in touch with you, or through me is fine, great? What would you prefer?
Oh, no, it's fine. They can reach me at fwmp@mac.com. It's on my website, flywithmeproductions.com. That's
awesome.
flywithmeproductions.com. And my email is on there if they wish to contact me, no problem. The world is, I feel, is, our family. The world
yes.
is my house, and it's time that we clean it up.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Pamela.
You're amazing. Thank you to the show today, and I love you, and I will see you in New Mexico in a few weeks.
I love you too.
Thanks,
and I love
Pamela.
everyone else who's listening. Cheers, darling.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So please go to my website, Nanice.com, and in addition to all the amazing articles and free downloads that you can get there, and you go and find the link for David Icke, and you can click on that. It will take you to tickets for an entire day event at only $50. This is going to be an amazing event. If any part of today's show interests you, or if the show in 2 weeks where we will be talking with David Icke interests you, you're going to want to go to this event. It will be absolutely amazing. I'm going to be at the New Mexico event, so if you're planning to go to that one, email me and we'll connect there. I'd love to meet you. And one last thought, and that is, you are the creator of your world. You are the creator of your life. And your power lies in the full responsibility of knowing who you are and making conscious and aware choices. Till next week, you have been listening to Chai with Nanice.
Thank you for having Chai with Nanice. Please go to www.nanice.com for great free stuff that will empower you to live your best possible life. Free books, articles, shows, meditation audios, and so much more at Nanice.com. That's Nanice.com. Nanice's books are also available in all major bookstores and Amazon. Check out The Infinite Power of You, Even Gandhi Got Hungry and Buddha Got Mad, Zest Point, Lip Prints, and many others by Nanice Ellis. To find out about one-on-one coaching and how Nanice can personally coach you to experience your best life possible, please email mybestlife@nanice.com.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And please join me on my website at nanice.com. That's Nanice.com. Thank you.